Three, two, one. That's Officer Jones, and I'm gonna be a detective someday. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Baycast, the podcast we talk about all things Michael Bay. I'm your host, Jacob,
Co-host Michael.
and today we are continuing our TMNT saga with the second and final Michael Bay produced TMNT movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Out of the Shadows. Wow, what a mouthful of a title! And this
it's a hell of a name. Yeah, and I don't assume the game that has the exact same name, but yet also doesn't look the same at all, is also equally much of a mouthful. That was a senseless statement, but just a game that has the same name
is that like the one made by Platinum Games, like that really mediocre beat 'em up? Or is that a different one?
Might be. I don't know Platinum being attached to it, but it very well may be.
Yeah, well, anyway.
I just remember that it had the exact same title, but wasn't, to my knowledge, an exact tie-in, which is weird.
Weird thing.
So
weird franchise.
As the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles move out of the shadows, we move with this movie a little bit further from Michael Bay's shadow. One of the most obvious things from pretty much any scene is that this movie is trying to be a goofy, cartoony, silly, like it is more of a kids movie than it is a whatever a Michael Bay movie is. For sure, kids like them, but they're not for kids. But at the same time, it pays surprising reverence to a lot of things in the series, which the first one was almost scared to.
Yeah, this one is weird because yes, it is a lot more of a homage to the previous series, right? But it also does very little interesting with it. But at the same time, it's hard to compare them because they are, even though they are kind of similar tonally, they are pretty different movies. This one's directed by Dave Green, who made Earth to Echo, which is a movie I saw a shit ton of advertising for as a kid, but never saw. So
I don't think anyone's saw it.
Yeah, I remember it being advertised all the time, like Nick or something. I was like, "Whoa, this is
I don't remember it. I don't have a single memory of that movie.
Yeah, it's the next ET, and then it came out and no one cared. And I guess you got the opportunity to direct this after. So good on you, Dave Green. You made another mediocre blockbuster.
Poor Nick.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Earth Echo was Nick. If you're saying there was much advertising on the channel, as you say.
Yeah, it might be. I have no fucking idea.
This is a Nickelodeon movie that actually feels like a Nickelodeon movie. Because the first one is a Nickelodeon movie that's trying to be like a Michael Bay or like a Battleship. But this, at least, I mean, both of them, like you said, tonally, they're not that much different, but there are the shift in what they're trying to do makes it feel different. The first movie was mostly April O'Neil's the main character. The Turtles are. At the second half of the movie, they become more prevalent. They're kind of not plot devices, but plot fabrications. These things are out there. The normal, I'll prove their existence. This movie, they're the main characters. April O'Neil is pretty much tertiary at this point.
Yeah.
So most of the silly, wacky hijinks is actually the Turtles doing shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say. For the first movie, it's the Turtles really don't get much characterization at all. They already have their basic archetypes that we've known for the past 20 something years. Really, you don't really get to know any of them at all. This one, they definitely feel more like a team, at least. Not necessarily the most interesting or well thought out team or of heroes.
They develop them more. Almost everyone gets something more than in the last movie.
Mm-hmm.
Leo starts this movie is kind of a dick, but you can see it's because the idea of leadership is weighing on him, and he kind of has this warped idea of what it means to be a leader, which is better than the first movie where he had nothing. He's not with Johnny Knoxville anymore. That's awesome.
Johnny Knoxville-less Leonardo. I think he's just voiced by the mocap guy. Which is
it is basically the same. But it's just a little less stunted, a little stilted.
Yeah.
Raphael carries the he passes the torch of best character from himself to himself. Weirdly enough, this movie makes it so he's not really that mean anymore. Like that sort of Leo's thing in this,
Yeah.
which makes Raphael more likable when he's all like as the his character arc in the first one and this one makes him more likable too. So I came out really enjoying him in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like as the first time it was like the first movie it was more like, oh, he almost has something, so he's my favorite. And this he actually has the most and is my favorite. Like I feel like it's almost earned that he
Yeah.
does stuff.
Yeah, right. Leo is kind of a dick in this, which I don't necessarily mind because really throughout the series and especially the last movie, Leonardo is really just like objectively the most boring character. Even though he was my
Yeah,
favorite
yeah.
as a kid because he's a leader and he's blue.
He's got
Uh,
swords.
yeah. But like yeah, just like being like the stoic leader does lead to him being the most boring character. So I don't necessarily mind the slight character deviation of him being a dick and a slightly skewed view of
And
who
it's
he
not like
is.
he's mean just for the sake of being mean. It's just like he comes off a little harder edged because the duties. Uh, Mikey's still pretty bad, but he says less
Yeah, he's
like
less horny.
quippy
I'll
stuff.
give him that.
Much there's one or two lines in the very beginning, and then he just drops it, which is
Yeah,
great.
but he has the golden necklace in this, so you know. I'll,
Yeah, we went at length about that.
yeah, if
And
yeah,
what
sorry.
was that? Sorry,
Yeah, if you
go
remember
first.
from the last review, slash movie, like Leo like had like a golden necklace and like the first designs, and like people were saying like that was like kind of like a racist character like depiction of like African American culture. So like, oh yeah, we'll change it. They like shells to like be more like this is servitor personality. So I'm guessing they just like forgot to like transfer like that new model
Yeah,
from the
that's
first
what
one.
we theorize.
Yeah.
But seeing this, I don't know about that because I don't know about you, but wasn't horribly repulsed by the turtles. They did something to them. I don't know what they did, but
I
I
think they might
felt
have
like
given them slightly maybe like
I think they're
slightly
smoother.
more green and like maybe slightly less detail in like some of the
Yeah,
face. Yeah.
there's a lot of, and also just to quickly go into like cinematography, there's a lot of very close zooms or zoom ins on numerous members, and I wasn't like, I wasn't horrified.
Mm-hmm.
I think they changed the head shape of most of them. Like Leo's head is a lot taller. Not Leo. Donnie's head's a lot thinner and taller, like in the 2012 show. Mikey wasn't. His head isn't as bulbous. I mean, their heads are all fucking bulbous, but like not as specifically. Like, I'm not going to say the effects are any better or worse, but the actual like renders for them were a lot more palatable for me.
Yeah, they definitely made some improvements, which you showed in a sequel, so it wasn't that bad.
And Splinter too. We can hit design and character because design wise, he's just less gross. He looks more cartoony, so he's less painful to look at, and he's a lot more chill, which I appreciated.
Also had less screen time, which was appreciated.
Oh, so much less.
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally appears. And like they was like, oh man, I hate leading. These guys are such dicks. And Splinter's like, calm down. No, it's all right. You got this, bro. Like he's essentially just the hype man,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting
He was
because
just
in
like
a lot of the
he was
what?
just like fucking he was like, oh yeah, just do whatever the fuck you want. Like in most scenes.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
you guys aren't kids. You're becoming young adults. Just do whatever. Which is I was saying is an interesting change specifically for him because a lot of the iterations of Splinter, there's a balance between like super hard ass, like you must be disciplined, my sons, and also the I trust you well enough. But it's like they split him into both movies where he's just like super mean and a hard ass in the first one, and the second one he's very relaxed and believes in the turtles' abilities.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good change for actually dealing with the character, but it doesn't make any sense
Right.
because the last movie he was like, you can't fight the Shredder. He will kill you. In this movie, just getting into spoilers, it's like there's an alien invasion. Just fucking go get it, turtles.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
I guess we'll
very
start.
strange.
Yeah, I guess we'll start with getting into the plot a bit. So we start like the movie with them like a little like I don't know how to describe like parkour scene with them like going like up into the rafters of a Knicks game and eating pizza, which also this movie fucking loves New York. They'll say like I love New York like every like 5 minutes in this movie.
Yep. Very, very rarely is someone not saying they love New York, whether it be the Turtles or not.
And through that we see like how Will Arnett's character, whose name I just don't care enough to remember. Vernon
the Falcon.
Yeah. He like took the Turtles, like he made a deal with the Turtles to like become the guy who defeated Shredder.
Take the credit for defeating the Shredder, essentially.
So they get face. And like I love Will Arnett, and like I think he like definitely does the best he can with like the material he's giving, because he's like it's like he's a pompous asshole because he's obviously taking credit for something he didn't do, but like you can't get too mad at him because like the Turtles agreed to do it with him, so he's just like kind of just a guy who's just doing his job.
Yeah,
while like reaping the benefits from it.
As we're gonna get with almost every character, I think what they did in this movie is generally more interesting, whether it be like better from a cinematic, like from a writing. But in the first movie, he's just a guy that wants to fuck April. In this movie, he's like he's like in the plot, he's the scapegoat. Not to say he's the scapegoat, but he takes the credit for defeating the Shredder. And the way they use his fame in this movie is really fucking funny, because it's like 3 times they'll go into like super ridiculous high security things or a police station later, and it's like, hey, I'm Vern the Falcon. I saved the city from the Shredder, and everyone's like, yeah, my fucking man. And he did it like 3 times, and it somehow is funny every time.
Yeah, because
it's just so.
They got like one of the best actors who do like that type of role well to do it.
Yeah. They didn't use him particularly well in the first one, but I feel like he was actually I feel like he's in it less, but he's a lot more impactful.
Right.
Because he actually kind of does things.
Mm-hmm. What happens after that? So, shortly after, we see like April's like going like undercover to try to, like checking out like Baxter Stockman's like evil plans, and through that we find out that Baxter Stockman is played by the one and only Tyler Perry. How do you feel about that?
Baxter Stockman as a character, he'll either be like this, he'll be the super silly scientist, or he'll just be a normal guy. But for this cartoon movie, they couldn't make him normal, so they made him like the nutty professor.
Pretty much.
Some of the hardest I laughed in this movie is at points where Tyler Perry just laughs. He's like, for some reason, that was just the funniest thing to me. Like, it's not even a joke. It's just that Tyler Perry in this role, for the maybe 7 minutes he has of actually doing things or speaking, is just fucking hamming it up, and I was okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think he did fine for what it was. Actually, I want to get into the casting of this a bit later when we get to like some other characters. But the casting of this movie is really fucking weird for the new characters.
It's pretty. Well, the way this movie treats its characters is really fucking weird.
Yeah.
The Turtles are consistent. We have, I guess, just because this happens about as fast in the movie as it does when I'm saying it now. We meet Baxter Stockman, who's poised like, oh, he could work for the Shredder. It's like, oh, the Shredder's still in jail from the first movie. See the Shredder, it's a different guy. They recast him.
It's a completely different guy. Who is, by the way, I looked this up because I was like, wow, he looks way younger than the last movie. He's like almost 20 years younger than the guy who played him in the last movie. It was like kind of jarring.
Maybe that was the ooze he took. Maybe that was the ooze he took at the end of the last movie. He made him young.
Sure.
You also see Karai, who is technically in the first movie and is technically in this movie, also different actress.
Yeah.
But you see him in jail, he's put in with Bebop and Rocksteady.
Right.
Pre-animalization. So you did new villain working with the old villain, and then you immediately dump 2 more villains in the span of like 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I realized the first time I saw this, it's going to be a clusterfuck of a movie. It really is like an amazing spot. Actually, credit to this does the multiple villains things somewhat better than Amazing Spider-Man 2, because they actually do stuff. Like, they interact. Most of them.
Right.
Most of them.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. How do you feel about the setup of this movie?
It is very like contrived, but it's pretty much exactly what you expect, like this type of movie. Also, fucking Rocksteady is played by Sheamus, like the WWE wrestler.
Wrestler.
Yeah, and as someone who like grew up with WWE or like watched a lot of WWE in the early 2010s, like he was definitely like one of the biggest guys there at the time. I was like, holy fucking shit, it's Sheamus. But yeah, that was definitely interesting casting. I'm not super familiar with the other guy who played Bebop, but like yeah,
He does mostly like voice acting, for I could tell.
yeah.
Mostly, not exclusively.
Um, but yeah, they're they do bring a lot into this movie at once. But I think also like around this time, this is like kind of going on simultaneously with the Shredder stuff. We see how Mikey wants to, be out with the people more because like it was like Halloween that day, I guess, or something like that, and like he goes out during the Halloween festival, and he's like, and people are like, dude, nice costume, like in all like these fucking movies about like some like sentient monsters who just want to fit in.
Yeah,
Which
there's a guy in a Bumblebee suit, of course.
yeah, that was a sick Bumblebee suit though. Made a sound too.
It did make correction. They played sounds from the movie over it. Like I, this is sound design. We haven't gotten into very much action, but the sound design in this movie is fucking ass.
Yeah, no.
It's
There's
the
so much
very
fucking like slapstick cartoon sound effects.
okay. No, I like the sound. I like the slapstick. I think that's fine for a movie like this where it's called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like I'm okay with fucking dumb sound effects. I just think every other sound was garbage or mixed horribly.
I don't disagree with you.
Just a simple example. The the action scenes in this movie, most of them I think are pretty damn solid compared to the also solid action scene at the end of the first movie with the hill. The sound design in that scene, like when a turtle destroyed a truck, you fucking felt it. In this, the choreography might be mostly better, but there's no impact to anything. It's
Mm-hmm.
really weird. It's like I like the zany, like boing, like shit like that. It cracks me up, and I'm happy to see it. But I think everything else, like the normal movie sound effects, were fucked up.
Yeah. Also, like going into like the fight scenes a bit, which like it's about to start because we see like, the turtle van about to chase Shredder. Um, I really feel like I actually like I'm actually taking this from because I watched like Chris Stuckman's review of this like after I watched it, and like he's like kind of writing this part. Like there's like almost like no memorable quote unquote fighting scenes in this movie. It's mostly just the turtles like running around and like doing stuff. It's like they do stuff, but like not like really that much like actual like sword or like nunchuck or whatever the fuck combat. It's mostly just like them like running around.
Yeah, that's mostly true.
Like in the first movie, like there was like really memorable like downhill like mountains like fighting scene, which is like pretty cool. In this one, there's like nothing really like that. Really, I mean, there's like some like weird, there's some like memorable like action scenes, nothing like actual like with fighting whatever shit like that. Which
Yeah,
I mean, like
I was gonna say is most of the scenes that would normally be like, oh, the turtles use their weapons to fight the other guy, are because this does the kind of MCU thing where most of the fight scenes are kept intentionally dull so there can be character moments and like banter
mm,
during them. And I felt like the character stuff in the banter between them was pretty solid and perhaps intentionally took the focus off them fighting. It could be entirely bullshit. I don't know. I'm thinking mainly of the scene where they fight Bebop and Rocksteady in a plane. There's almost
mm,
no memorable choreography, but it's like, oh, the turtles are interacting against these fucking two wackos, and the wackos are saying stuff, and they're quipping against the turtle. I thought that was an entertaining scene, but I wouldn't call it a great fight.
right, sure. Uh, I guess like so when the turtles realize that Shredder is gonna break out of prison, do whatever the fuck he does, they chase after him in a renovated turtle van, where it's like instead of being like a fucking clown car at the end of the first movie, it was like an actual garbage truck where they could all fit in. So that was
Yeah,
nice. I mean, yeah, that's like pretty average, I guess, chase scene between the police car and a turtle van. And this is also the third like the fifth character introduction in this movie when we're introduced to the Casey Jones of this movie played by Stephen Amell, uh Arrow, and he is
Mr. Aaron.
very boring in this movie.
He's an even worse version of the Robin from Dark Knight Rises.
Yes. very much so. Now that we already like talked about all these characters, I just have to say the casting in this movie is really fucking weird. So like they cast like non actors to play like these like big parts, like Sheamus like being like a WWE wrestler, Stephen Amell being like the star of a like a campy CW show, and Tyler Perry obviously like directing and starring in like really campy Medea movies and stuff like that. So I guess like in a lot of ways they're like really trying to like give into like that hammy tone that they're going for by casting like, all these like really over the top like performers. So I guess I can kind of respect it in that way. But like that being said, Stephen Amell is really boring in this movie. He does not feel
And,
like Casey Jones really.
yeah, I mean, like he does all the Casey Jones things, but the thing about Casey Jones is that he's kind of also like actually a dick. Like he's just a mean person. In
Mm-hmm.
this movie, he's just a mild mannered person that doesn't like the turtles for no reason.
Mm-hmm. And there's
In,
also
in like the sorry,
no,
you
you
want to
go,
go
you
ahead?
go, you go.
What I was going to say is in most iterations, he's at odds with the turtles because they vigilante. He's a vigilante. He doesn't want them fucking stealing his credit. He's got a pretty big ego most of the time. He doesn't want these non-human like entities like stealing his fucking thunder. And this, he vigilantes once, and he doesn't like the turtles, not because they're a threat to him, but because they're turtles.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think to an extent is supposed to go into the theme of the movie, like, oh, are they going to trust? Do people trust the turtles because they're turtles, or would they not because they're horrible monsters? Like, so,
There
but
is
it's
some
also
weird
just
underlying tones of racism in this movie, which is like
yeah,
does not like really fit with the tone at
like
all.
kind of X-Men-y, like
Yeah,
X-Men as seen in the movies X-Men, not like done with nuance in some of the comic stories
right.
X-Men. But yeah, he shows up and he's in the convoy that has Bebop, Rocksteady, and the Shredder. You get to get that action sequence, and I will say this movie, like it's weird to say because a lot of movies do and are, but this movie looks very digital. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it looks like shit most of the time, but anytime anything's happening, we're very aware that it is a movie. The way the camera moves, the way the CGI like entities are like framed. Like you see the turtle van, and it's not like a video game, but it isn't like reality either.
Mm-hmm.
Which at least kept them, even if some of the action scenes were unmemorable. It's like the way they're framed is a little different than just the nonsense, like quick cut crap from the first movie.
Mm-hmm. It almost feels like um like those movies that were like, released in like the mid 2000s like late 2000s are like almost like entirely like green screen. Like is it like Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow? That movie's like shot entirely on green screen.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
it kind of like feels like that, whereas like it's like obviously like not reality. Even though there are probably like some actual like sets in this movie where like it does feel like it's almost like it's not like we're actually like watching something happening. It's because it's just four turtles just doing shit like that.
And I'm not even saying like, oh, I don't believe what's happening because it's turtles. It feels odd
Mm-hmm.
even compared to the first one. Like I said, I don't know if the effects are any better or worse. I like the designs more, but it they them moving has a completely different vibe. Maybe it's that they're treating them as characters more so than like props, which the
Right.
first movie was apt to do. Because there wasn't a shot where like I'm just thinking early in the Knicks game sequence. There's a lot of close shots and slight zooms and pans around the turtles as they're like eating pizza or talking about Will Arnett's character. Whereas in the first movie, I feel like that would just be a static shot
Right.
of that. So maybe that's it. I'm just not used to cameras moving around CG things unless it's the fucking snap zooms and Man of Steel.
What did Dave Green mean by this?
It's not even like we can't even say if it's a bad or a good thing. It's just something that, especially in the turtle van sequence, because it isn't obviously a CG looking or at least CGI enhanced vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's there. It's in the real world, kind of like Schrodinger's turtle van. But
Yeah.
But it has the fucking manhole cover gun. It has the giant nunchuck arms, like straight off of toys. Like this is a toy. And I was happy to
This movie
see
was
it
made to
just doing
sell
stupid
toys.
shit.
What?
Well, okay, unlike even Transformers, this movie feels like it could sell toys. You know?
Yeah.
There's a bajillion characters and they have weird props and accessories, but they're also things you could make toys of, unlike half the fucking Decepticon. I know they did make toys of them, but they don't look very good most of the time.
Mm-hmm. We also get this really Michael Bay line of like Casey Jones like talking with like the driver of the
Yeah,
of the van
I
where
forgot about that.
he's like yeah like I play hockey or something like that. He's like you like sports and he's like or you like hockey or something. He's like no I like cage fighting. Just like out of nowhere goofy ass lines like that.
Yeah, that was the most Michael Bay thing because it is kind of fucked up. This random police guy be like, I like cage fighting, but like that was kind of funny because it was completely out of left field.
Right.
This movie like at least maybe like smirk a little bit. Like I'm not gonna say it was like all hilarious. I mean, I laughed when Tyler Perry laughed. That wasn't like a joke. Most of the time, with like the stuff with the turtles, the humor's more character based. Like Mikey was actually like tolerable as a source of humor because he wasn't just like, "Oh, man, the orange crush in the fridge. Oh wow!" But he's forgetting things like kind of like Patrick from SpongeBob. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah,
That
just a
scene
bit
was
of a
funny.
bit of like a dumb doofus in this movie like Patrick.
Yeah, but not like the first movie where he's like a weird, horny, almost malicious in his intentions. It seems like.
Yeah.
Like I gave him the gold chain, but he feels more like a surfer dude in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. After that whole argument, why does he have it back?
Yeah,
But
he
then
just does.
at the point that fucking killed me again. I laughed a lot at this movie. Most of it unintentional, and the part I think I laughed the hardest at was right when the shredder is being like there's a helicopter coming to pick him up from the SWAT van. They cut him out. Also, the Foot Clan are actually ninjas in this movie. All of them.
Oh yeah, they are. I wasn't even thinking about that when I watched that. You're right.
There's a lot of course correcting in this movie, like
Mm-hmm.
tone, like with that kind of stuff. So Baxter Stockman and Karai are like in like generic villain computer rooms, like if we can't get him to the landing zone, and bring the landing zone to him, and they drop something. Shredder jumps into a blue spark. Like, oh, what happened? And he appears in the fucking lair of the Krang.
Yeah.
And the Krang just starts going, behold, Shredder, the Technodrome. I have 3 different parts of my fucking energy device that will summon the Technodrome, and I will rule it, destroying all
Just an
humanity. You will
exposition.
join me. And he's screaming the whole fucking
Voiced by
time.
Brad Garrett from Everyone Loves Raymond, by the way.
I I was fucking losing my shit because it comes out of nowhere and it just does not fucking stop. It was the same reaction I had to Transformers 5, where like Anthony Hopkins would say something that makes no sense and keep saying it, and I would just start laughing.
Yeah, it was like so like out of left field because we literally like, hey, we're like going on this one
There are
part, and then
4
we're
villains
transported
in.
to a completely different location with this giant blah 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 gum looking ass alien, and who's like just giving us an exposition dump on what the villains are trying to do in this movie. Oh god, okay, that was weird.
Before he gets into it, I did a little bit of like almost sanity before the madness. He starts saying something. Krang starts saying something. Shredder's like, "You know who I am?" Like, of course I know. And then he goes into his insane rant for like 2 minutes straight.
Yeah. Also,
It's like,
no,
oh
sorry.
my god, this fucking scene. No, you go ahead.
Before that happened, there was like some like there's like one like small line of dialogue just like bugged me like because like all right so when like they're when we like the turtles like running in the garbage truck uh to not make Splinter go to the escape or whatever we hear Baxter Stockman say eliminate those turtles, which like okay like I wouldn't be surprised if Shredder told Baxter Stockman that there are giant turtles that are trying to kill him, but like to no one's knowledge, it's just like a garbage truck that's just like running in to like that's just like in the area like trying to stop them. Like how would they know that's I know like there's probably some like there's probably an easy explanation for it, but just like a small thing just like really bugs me. I don't know why.
Absolutely. I was thinking about that too, in the sense that the whole movie is like they're secretive. They have to remain under the shadows. They want to be out and about. Baxter Stockman, not unmentioned because he was in the first movie, but the first appearance of him, he's working alongside Shredder with some arrangement that we don't know because he was involved in the original program, but he doesn't mention it in this movie. And
Probably just a retcon.
yet he's like, get those damn turtles! Like, when did Shredder from jail go? There are 4 giant turtles with swords.
Yeah, like
that are going to.
I mean, there might be.
They have a garbage. No one knows about the garbage truck. Fucking
Yeah.
Shredder should know about the garbage truck.
Yeah, it just fucking bugged me. I don't fucking know. It was just weird.
It feels like it might have been like maybe at some point in some version of the movie that was like later in the movie, so he knew about them. I don't know. Who knows the history of this?
I don't know.
But it does feel like either later in the movie or more accurately, it feels like a cartoon show. Like, oh, we need Baxter Stockman to say, "Let's get those turtles," because that's the thing. That's the kind of shit he says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess shortly after that, Jones gets fired by his higher up officer.
Oh my God,
forgot her
this
name.
lady.
She's played by Truman's wife in the Truman Show.
Yeah, that's initially familiar.
Yeah, and then he says my favorite line in the movie. That like is like she's like, "Oh, you're fired or dismissed." Like Miss Jones. And he's like, "That's Officer Jones. I'm gonna be a detective someday." Like, and this is like something like a fucking 5-year-old would say when it comes to that. And it just like came out of Stephen Amell's like voice mouth. It's just like I don't know. I just find that line really funny.
You know what it reminded me of?
What?
I'm an inventor, okay? This could be a game changer for me.
Yes. Dude,
It's the same like 5-year-old reading lines vibe. And it's also just really bad exposition too, because that's the first you learn about his motivation.
Mm-hmm.
They go into fair detail about it later, which isn't interesting, but it is at least more purposeful when they go into like the background. But that's how they introduce it? Really? But yeah.
So then I guess like Casey Jones like becomes basically like April was in like the first movie doing like detective work to try to figure out what it was about. And
I'm glad you noticed that was very similar.
Yeah. So like is it like this part of the movie is like pretty boring. So like without like going into it, like, he goes like into like a bar. He has like the GPS, blah 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 blah. And then like we after that like we see him like get tracked down like Bebop and Rocksteady to the building where like where Baxter and Shredder are, and that's where like they get like the mutagen that transforms them into, the Warthog and Rhino that we know and love, and with like Bebop and Rocksteady in this movie, they're really fucking. It's really fucking stupid. Their humor, where like they just like, they're just Jason Momoa, right? Where there's like,
yeah, my man.
Yeah. and they make a joke about how big their mutant cocks are, which is great.
They don't make a joke. It is silent. They just move their like they pull the underwear or they pull the pants forward a little bit. Wordless joke, but yes, they are acknowledging their newfound mutant cock.
Their newfound endowments.
It's like these characters, pretty much the whole thing. We haven't been saying much about them, but they are like the stupidest characters ever, effectively.
Yeah.
And I was surprised and pleased that the whole movie they have the exact same like costumes as the classic ones, which makes no sense in this world. People are usually normal.
Yeah, they dress like actual people.
But yeah, like Bebop's got the fucking purple like tinted glasses and the mohawk, and then he has them as the Warthog. Like it's great design wise, and I think especially compared to the Turtles, which in the first movie were kind of horrific, and this movie are marginally less so. But It's just still watchable. I really like the designs of the new characters they added. I think they were done very well because they look as close to like, oh, what would a Rhino man like? What the fuck would a Krang look like? Like that's it's not exact. It's not like original movie like suit where it's meant to look. Well, it's meant to look like something even. But it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But
I was saying.
what I'd like to say is I think good on the designs of those three weird CGI guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you see Krang, he's in the kind of like man suit, and it has like the flesh colored nose and mouth that never made sense on the original Krang design, but it's there. Like
Hmm.
there's a lot of weird specific details that they incorporate in the designs, which coming from the first movie, I would have never expected. But this isn't the first movie, is it?
Nope. Um. So I guess like after that, like they, got like I think like the rest of this movie is like just kind of like goes from like scene to scene mindlessly without like much impact. So
Yep.
I guess I'll just like mention some like basic things. So at this like after this point when like we see like April tries like to steal the mutagen or whatever, and like she gets chased down by Bebo and Rocksteady, and that's when like she meets Casey Jones, and like and this is like the only like real scene where he actually like uses like his hockey equipment and stuff to like fight the Foot Clan and whatever. Or it wasn't the Bebop Rocksteady, it was a Foot Clan, but, like whatever. Uh, like and yeah, and then as you said, like we see him start to get like racist and hostile toward the turtles, which blah blah blah. I guess he soon accepts them, but whatever. But then we get to like a pretty funny scene where like Casey Jones is like in the cave, and like he's like, guys, there's like a giant mutant rat in the caves.
Well, I like that scene. That was like classic shit. Like that's the kind of stuff that you could do to Casey Jones. Like, oh, sure, that's fine because he's an asshole.
Mm-hmm. and and when he's like, and then like Michelangelo like Joker goes like, yeah, like sneak up on him, blah blah blah. And then like when Splinter like kicks the shit out of him, he says one of my other favorite lines from this movie: "Giant rat 1, new guy 0."
Like it's one of the only things Splinter does, and it's a gag. It's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I also it's one of the few moments of solidarity between the brothers. They're all like unanimously like what if we make him like attack Splinter? Wouldn't that be funny? The whole point of the first movie they were disorderly. Like it wasn't they weren't really that disorderly, they were just contrived disorderly, and at the end of the movie they were contrived brought together. This movie they're actually at odds, which it's more realistic because there's moral issues that they can have different stances on, namely the either going out in the shadows and presenting themselves to New York because they are for all intents and purposes heroes, and then when they get the mutagen from the lab, whether they should change their appearance to appear to be human,
Yeah.
so like don't need to operate in the shadows, and that creates. Oh, sorry.
No, you can go. You can go.
I say that creates a schism between the groups because it's Leo is like nah, we shouldn't do that. Donatello thinks it's a good idea, but for like the logical reasons. But then he just kind of goes like, "Oh, sure, you're right, Leo." But then Raphael, especially, and Michelangelo as well, as shown earlier in the movies, like, that's a great idea. I want to be normal. I want to be seen. It's actually a fairly interesting little plot. It's not. It's been done before in the series. I know, but
Yeah,
um,
I hate that fucking like hand effect he does when he like does like the drop of Mugen onto his hand, and like splits and becomes 5 fingers instead of 3. That could like creep me the fuck out.
yeah, it was like Amazing Spider-Man, but ickier.
Yeah, God. um,
Even
what?
ickier than that. I know.
Yeah. What else happened in this movie?
But also,
Vernon meets
but also,
Carmelo Anthony.
well, yeah, they don't get to Vern yet because he's in the first like 5 minutes, and then he's not in the movie for another hour, essentially.
Mm.
Well, I can refocus. I got a surprisingly okay idea of some of the stuff that happens, even though it is mostly senseless and flows from scene to scene with no stakes. But as Krang exposits insanely in the first maybe 30 minutes, Shredder needs to find two other quote unquote rocks. They're actually Krang dimensional like devices, like power cores or whatever. One's in the Museum of Natural History in New York, which is very handy because they just go and grab it because they're in New York. The
Mm.
other one's in Brazil, and the part I really did laugh at. Shredder turns to be up in Rocksteady. He's like, "You're going to Brazil." It's like it's the meme. It's the go to Brazil meme. But
Right.
so he has one. They starts with one because Krang gives it to him. They get the one at the Museum of Natural History pretty quickly. It's right about the time there's the big team split because because that's a discussion of like, should we be human? Should we take the mutagen and become human? Leo and Donnie like, oh no, Raphael and Mikey, you stay here. We'll do this, and then that gets the other two to go on their own mission. So
Mm-hmm.
Leo and Donnie are investigating the site of the thing that's been taken. The other two have a plan to get the wait, yeah, was it to get more of the mutagen? I think that was their
Yeah, that was
motivation.
it.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, they had it and it was taken in by the police. That's what it was. So they had to go to the police station. So Raph, Mikey, April, God, we haven't mentioned April in so long. She does so
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah,
little.
she has like
I
nothing. He has
mean,
like nothing to do in this movie.
the only thing that's like worth mentioning really is that in her first scene, she's incognito and she's dressed like she has like a fucking blonde wig, and then she has to dress as a schoolgirl, which
Oh
doesn't
right,
have to.
yeah.
She definitely does not have to, but she decides to. And that's like the trailer, like, oh, we got Megan Fox. Megan Fox is still hot, guys, like shot.
Mm-hmm.
In which that whole sequence, she goes up to Baxter, gets information. That's as if we're going like 30 minutes back in the movie. I don't care. That's just the only
It
thing
does
I
not
remember
matter.
April doing. I'm just the only thing I remember happening is she has to get close to Baxter to get information. That's how they learn about the plot, is through that information.
Mm-hmm.
But then she just goes to, do nothing, which is weird because she had some degree of agency in the first movie, and now she's not like Lois Lane inept. She's just normal inept.
Mm-hmm.
Like she knows New York, she knows the turtles, and she's not a fucking turtle, so she's worth being on the team. I guess that's the goal. And then that's when they call up Vern. So you can want to take that section because that is a fairly entertaining scene.
Or talking about like the one like where they're in the police station.
No, but right before the police station when they're getting Vern. I thought that's what we were talking about.
Oh right. Oh fuck. What was it? Yeah. Okay. So, um, so Vern like uses like his power or his like influence to like break into like the lab that fucking
That's
Levi.
not until later.
Wait, wait, what's he fucking talking about now?
Oh, sorry. I really fuck. Well, what I was talking about is when we were reintroduced to Vern. At the point that Megan Fox and Stephen Amell are like they're jailed. They call they call Vern, the homie Vern.
Right.
Wait, no, I'm not getting confused. That shows there's two scenes that they call Vern to
Yeah,
save them.
isn't
Where does
wait?
he
Are
make the
we talking?
second?
Isn't that a scene where they go to the fucking? He goes to the lab to do the thing.
Yeah, that is after they get him from the police station.
Oh God! Wait, no, wait, oh, wait. Oh, okay. No,
They're in the police
no.
station because they were arrested
Yeah, they were
for
arrested because of
being in the for storming the police station.
yeah.
Oh no, no,
No,
no! I've got it out of whack.
they
You
were
know.
arrested for because Megan Fox went to the lab to steal the mutagen or whatever, and like she caused.
Wait,
They think like they because of camera manipulation,
they,
they thought that she caused it, right? So then
yeah.
Vern goes to the said lab, uses the influence on the guard to be like, "Dude, I'm a Falcon. Like, trust you and trust me." It's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, sure." And then he like goes to like the clock camera and gets like the footage from that and
It's just a
proves
3 minute scene
yeah
of Will Arnett goofing around in the lab.
yeah. That scene was like pretty funny because like it shows how, like the wire like goes like all the way. He like pulls the
The
wire
whole
and goes
ass
like all the way
room.
around the room. even though it could have just like went straight down to like the console box or whatever. But yeah,
It
that's
was a
like
it was a
classic
good
slapstick.
normal silly scene. No like
Yeah,
turtles, no Krang, just like Will Arnett.
yeah. All right, so that was it. Yeah. Okay. So and then that gets so when they get the actual footage where they made a giant warthog and rhino with that mutagen. It wasn't Megan Fox. They're like, all right, you can go now. I guess I was wrong.
Yes, that okay. I think I
Um.
might be thinking of when they bring him in the movie again. There's like a weird like gala party. That's where he meets the guy, and he's like, "Oh, it's my girlfriend Alessandra." Like,
I think that was like
I've known
around the
you
same
for one
part.
week. It
Oh
was a little. I think
yeah.
it was a little earlier, but that one of my favorite moments in the movie is he's talking. It's a fairly for this movie fairly tense scene where he's talking to someone he just called his girlfriend who doesn't believe that to be true to like an actual celebrity, and then April O'Neil shows up. And she's like, "Vern, we need you for something." He's like, "I gotta go."
Yeah.
It's entirely unnecessary, but I like the build up the details because the whole movie he was fawning over April. In this, you see him and he's dating someone else, but then April shows up and she's like, "Oh, all right, I guess I have to go."
Yeah. I mean, like for anything for April. Yeah. I guess. Mm, I guess like after that, like it's like pretty much the Brazil scene. So, um, this is a scene where like so Bebop and Rocksteady go to Brazil, get the third part of the device or whatever, and like when the turtles are going, they realize, oh shit, they already got it and they're leaving, but their planes just happen to be intersecting like in like a minute or whatever, so like they have to jump from their plane into the other one, and we get that like and I guess like this is pretty much the equivalent of the snowboard scene or the downhill car chase scene in the first movie, where like they jump from the plane and then like have to try to steal the device from Bebop and Rocksteady, and
They're
all the
all
turtles like jump with ease except for Raphael, where he's like, oh, he's scared, and he's like, oh, what would Vin Diesel do? And then like
yeah, he does
that
say
convinces
that.
him to jump.
I find that interesting again because they were all really high up in at the end of the movie. Oh, also they live in New York fucking city. Why is he afraid of heights? I mean, I
I
guess
think he's more so he's just
it's
afraid of
different.
like jumping from there without a
Jumping, yeah,
parachute.
which
Yeah.
I figured that, but it just seemed like a weird thing because one of the only moments I remember from the first movie was Raph at the top of the building as it was being destroyed, and
Mm-hmm.
he was scared, but he wasn't scared because he was falling. He was just scared because he was like, "Oh, my brother's man!" And in this movie, but I like the like, "Oh man, the big buff guy is scared of the thing. The other guys aren't." Like that's fine. That's like that's cute, I guess. I don't know, like quaint.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, like that scene's like fine, I guess. Like nothing like really too much of note happens other than them not getting the device by the end of it. They like fall down a waterfall or some shit. Okay, like there's so okay.
They landed yeah, they landed the vehicle crashes. The plane they're on crashes. And they land in well, yeah, amusingly the plane gets kind of beat up by them fighting inside of it, and then the front of the plane gets blown off, and so Donnie has to fly a plane with no cockpit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, shit's just falling off. And then
Yeah.
he uses his bow staff as like a lever. He actually uses it for something. Just fucking insane.
Mm,
They're just using their weapons.
right. Actually, I have to say, like with this whole plane scene, there's so many fucking similar plane scenes in like modern in like blockbusters today.
Gray man, gray
Yeah,
man,
yeah, that like Uncharted, The Mummy.
the mummy.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, like there's like so many scenes of like the plane that's like crashing with like an open
Amazing
like
Spider-Man
door that
2.
has everything falling out of it. Granted, this one was before Uncharted and the Mummy, but like I've just like seen so many scenes like that that it just like feels like almost like exhausting. But like
The only difference is that the protagonists are turtles and the villains are Hog and Rhino. And
mm-hmm.
then we do get to see the Rhino in a tank. And I'm always up for stupid things like a rhino in a tank, right? Like if you think about this, like objectively, the cinematography, yeah, sure, but there's a rhino in a tank.
Yeah. There's just a rhino.
That's funny.
Yeah. A rhino
So
voiced by Seamus.
yeah, not just any man, Seamus
Mm-hmm.
himself. So
Yeah.
they landed in Rapids, and it's a classic like, oh, we got to get the MacGuffin thing, and then they fall down the waterfall, and they do the turtle thing where they suck up into their shell,
Mm-hmm.
which I think Raph does once, like in the intro of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's like a Ninja Turtle thing. All right, sure. So
That
they get
sure was a thing. All right, yeah, you go.
they, they sure do, and so they fall down. They don't have the fucking device, and then they have to recoup their losses,
Mm-hmm.
as is a trend in these movies. It's like, oh, well, we didn't do this. And Leah's like, oh man, you guys, man, you fucking dudes. And then Raph's like, oh, you're the leader. There's a classic Ninja Turtle bickering that we've come
Mm-hmm.
to know. I'm going to say love, but no, by the course of these movies. And
Yeah.
then the movie's focus is like Bebop and Rocksteady are obviously the heavies for the Shredder. The Shredder's for all intents and purposes, presented as the mastermind, even though he isn't. Karai's his like second in command woman character, and Baxter Stockman's the scientist who's enabling him to do any of this. But as soon as the third act begins, portal is opened. That's what they're trying to stop. Is the portal and dimensions opening and the Technodrome forming over Manhattan and
Which looks
blowing it up
nothing
or
like the
whatever.
Technodrome and any other thing, by the way. It's like
It
it's like a
doesn't look. It's a sphere.
wait. Wasn't like
It's,
it was. I thought it was just
at
like a
least from the
collection
game.
of like cube things.
Well, yeah, okay. It's made of weird, like bronze cubes, like a lot of Destiny maps used to be made of cubes. Like I just remember that, like a visual. It forms slowly, like a fucking self-constructing Lego piece, like the Lego Death Star from Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
when it forms, and it does almost entirely form, spoiler alert, this drum is just a big fucking sphere with like a light on it. Usually has treads, but obviously this one flies. So it's not gonna have treads.
yeah.
But the point, like the doomsday thing, is literal. It's some movies. It's like, oh man, the portal, something strong is coming through the portal. We have to stop it. This is something strong is actively coming through a portal, and we need to undo it. It's not like Avengers, like monsters coming through a portal. It's like you have to prevent like I said, like the Lego set from building itself. It's kind of weird as a ticking clock.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, but why even going into the final battle is one of the strangest like paced combinations of scenes I've ever seen, even
Right.
for these movies. Shredder's like, okay, great work, team. We did it. We got the fucking thing. We're creating the Technodrome. Baxter Stockman, you're unneeded. Get the fuck out of here. Baxter, no. Okay, yeah, all right, all right. And then the next scene,
Literally, the
Shredder
next scene.
goes up to the Technodrome and goes like, "I did everything you said, Krang." And then Krang's like, "Hey, Shredder, I don't fucking need you. Go fuck yourself." Freezes him in carbonite, sends him into the middle of the base.
Yep.
That's two like betrayals.
It was also like so it was like really fucking funny. It was like Baxter, you're not needed. You're just gonna be a footnote in history. And then getting like, no, I did everything you wanted. Please don't kill me. That is like really fucking funny. And there's also like another scene that happens like I think shortly before or after that like I think is also like really funny, where like the turtles but like was like, oh, we need like the cooperation of the police to stop the Technodrome or whatever. And he's like, well, and Donatello's like, well, we could use the mutagens to look more like humans, so we could do it. And then and Leonardo, like having learned to be a good leader, is like, all right, guys, not my decision, it's up
Stop
to
right
you.
there.
And then fucking without telling anyone, like Raphael grabs it and just throws it without anyone else's fucking opinion being thrown in.
Like, he does exactly what Leo would have done.
Yeah.
At that point in the movie, it's like, oh, that's resolution now. It's not hypocrisy this time.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. It's also like such a dramatic looking scene. Like there's a lot of slow mo in these movies, as we've gone on about, but slow mo when he breaks the mutagen bottle, really not needed.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Sorry, sorry, John. Whatever the fuck the director's name is? Is it John?
Dave Green.
Dave. Sorry, Dave. John. But the finale begins, and I will say it sort of ties up besides the villain stuff we just mentioned, that makes no sense and is entirely rushed. The whole untrustworthy police, the animosity about being seen out in the world. They make a deal with the police chief because they've earned respect because they got the information on the up and Rocksteady and stuff. Got April and Vern out of jail,
Mhm.
and and then they meet up with the police and they're like, oh no, we're here to help, guys. And then there's the moment where the facade of Lil Arnett's like, I know I'm the Falcon and everything, but these guys actually saved the city from Shredder. There was a deal we made. Like it's actually that scene, that line is the police chief going like, we don't believe you. And then this fucking clearly insane man's like, I made a deal with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, I guess it makes sense, and he is telling the truth. But that police chief does not trust a single word anyone says. There's no way she would believe him in that scene.
Right.
Outside of the plot has to, like, the lady's a bitch. She's so mean. She's meaner than Shredder. She's meaner than Krang. Like,
Yeah.
this Krang, all he does is just freeze you. He doesn't have like the NYPD ready to fucking pump him with lead.
And he like almost to destroy the world, I guess, but whatever.
He wants to destroy the entire world. She just wants to destroy people she doesn't like.
Yeah.
Domination versus prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
But so they are out of the shadows, but they're protected by like a police convoy. They're shielded from the public, so they're out and about doing stuff. But they're not obvious. They're not like Transformers 3, like there's millions of Transformers in Chicago kind of shit. Mm-hmm. Which I think is a fine way to do it, because it's technically not lying about them going to the surface, but it's also sort of keeping consistent with their entire thing. And it's also pretty weird that there's a lot of shots where you just see real police officers and like you see like human police officers, and then you just like Leonardo's like, we gotta put a barricade up in 50 seconds.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me like Avengers vibes when Steve Rogers said something to the cop. Mm-hmm. And this does have visual Avengers vibes, because blue shit in the sky, not blue sky beam, but blue shit in the sky, weird alien things flying around here, go up to do something about it, but it's not exactly that.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry.
No, I guess I'm caught my throat.
No. You're good. You're good. You go.
Well, the final battles are framed, like in the first and second movie, are framed pretty similarly when I think about it, because they're both just a big open flat area high up. But at the very least, this one is a little longer. There's more things happening. Like the Krang and the Krang power suit. The whole movie, Krang's like, oh, I will enslave and destroy everyone. It's like, okay, yeah, thanks, Krang. But then you fight the turtles, and we whoops their asses the whole time, pretty much. Like, yeah, this is a fucking alien robot. He would probably kick the turtles' asses. They're just turtles with swords and nunchaku and shit. Spinning around.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you feel about that? I thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I guess like the final actually, it was like very similar to the first movie. I guess like slightly better. We also saw Megan Fox and Vernon trying to deal with Bebop and Rocksteady,
and Stephen Amell's character.
Yes, the most important character, Casey Jones. I don't know. That part, I guess, is just like a better version of what they did with William Fichtner's character in the first one, where they just did nothing with that. But like in this one, there was a fairly entertaining scene where like Casey Jones you makes like a makeshift hockey gear and fucking like blows up Bebop and Rocksteady in a supply crate. So
he tricks them. It's like a video game boss. He tricks them into going into a supply crate, takes a grenade off one of them's like bandolier, and they just have like Oh, so they have the motorcycle. They have the fucking stupid OG, like, this is a warthog with fucking purple glasses riding a motorcycle. Like, that's beautiful looking. Like, I was like, yeah! Like, that's the dumb shit. But he also has grenades in his sidecar. So Stephen Amell grabs a grenade, baits them into a closet, like a closet, like a crate, and he throws the fucking grenade in there. And it's like, if they weren't mutants, it'd be like, holy shit, he just threw a grenade in there.
Yeah.
Like, it goes off, and they're like, "Oh man, that sucked." Like, well, that happened. It's like they did. And also, just quickly to the very end, it mentions they were arrested. How? How did they do that? It's a
Good
fucking
question.
rhino, bro.
Yeah, I don't fucking know.
Did the grenade unmutate them?
Mm-hmm. It was dumb. Yeah.
That's all we need to say about that because that's their end of their involvement. But
Yeah. Not really much else
there's a,
happens after
there's
that.
a fight with Karai. Karai is in the movie and technically does something. Like, because we've already it's really strange that, as I said, this whole sequence, this massive battle begins with Baxter Stockman getting written out of the movie, Shredder getting written out of the movie. That leaves Bebop and Rocksteady as the heavies, which makes sense. And then the non-character Karai as the final boss for Megan Fox and Will Arnett. But also, it's like, she seems less good at, like, she doesn't seem as skilled as even the regular foot soldier guys. They're doing flips and shit. She's just kind of slashing. Like, it almost makes sense that she's in the movie because they wanted to have like a human adversary. But what if it was just like Baxter Stockman? Like, oh, my, what the fuck are those things called? What are his drones in like the show and stuff? He has like drones.
Uh,
Fucking God.
I
But
forgot
like,
their names.
if they didn't just say like, Baxter, you're not in the movie anymore, they could have had him as the human villain because he's not a fighter by any means, but he would still be a challenge to the characters, right? Wouldn't that make more sense than just like, oh, Karai, you said and done nothing the whole movie. We'll now have a 1 second battle against Will Arnett.
Yeah.
And there was something that I think another missed opportunity. Will Arnett, he's always quipping. He's always quipping, right? It's like, she's got a sword. I've got a, and he looks to his right. I've got a hubcap. I was so hoping that he would fucking knock her out with the hubcap or something, but he doesn't use it. He puts it back.
He's funny, like, grabs a hubcap, like, for, like, just like a weird visual gag, and like nothing else.
Yeah, dude, I wanted him to use that. That would have been funny.
Yeah, it was so
It wouldn't be that funny, but it'd be better. Odd.
Yeah, it was very odd.
So yeah, they intersperse that with the battle on the top somewhere near the top of the Technodrome. And there's like there's some fun stuff in there. Like they cut off the Krang hand, and he just pulls up a fucking giant totem with like a million weapons on it, and starts switching between them while he's kicking the turtle's ass. Like, that's fun. Like, that's nice, silly stuff. Like, literally action figure accessorizing while he's fighting the turtles. Like, that's great.
Customize your Krang Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle in stores now.
Yeah, I bet they made like a few toys
And watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles out of the shadows exclusively in movie theaters.
Probably Nickelodeon a few months after.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's difficult to describe what happens because it's like Donatello's hacking the Technodrome so he can. Well, there's a beacon that shows where the parts of the Technodrome reform. He just wants to move that back into the portal. It's a kind of boring way to resolve that, but I guess it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then the other three of them just fight Krang and mostly get their asses kicked because he is a giant, like 30-foot, like the 20-foot robot man with a fucking like what? Like, also they call him someone calls him like a piece of. Oh yeah, Mikey. That was the biggest surprise that Mikey made me laugh in this, like genuinely. Because there's like a almost horror-esque shot where Mikey's like, oh, it's just a big old dumb robot, and then the belly thing opens up to reveal Krang. It looks like a piece of gum.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, yeah, he does. Like, good observation, Mikey.
He made the observation that everyone else made when they first saw Krang. in whatever fucking
Any of them, really. He always looks the same.
Yeah. Yeah. So the rest of the movie or the rest of the climax is just like pretty standard. Mikey grabs the beacon or whatever.
With his hoverboard.
Yeah, with his hoverboard. Donatello uses a drone to like bring it out of Technodrome. Leaves it just in time before he blows everything up. And Krang like leaves the dimension. He's like, I'll come back 10,000 times stronger.
Yeah, I'll come back 1,000 times stronger, Turtles. Good. Again, great. Like, straight fucking cartoon shit. Love it.
Yep.
I almost like this movie. Like, it's such like, we haven't even gone into how the exposition is. In the first movie, it's in nice, like, little spurts. Like a micro doses.
Yeah, but like they're all like really fucking bad with like the fucking like,
in this
wall of like the mosaic wall that William Fisher used to explain his whole backstory.
That was funny because that character is hilarious. But in this movie, everyone constantly exposits and it's all tell not show.
Mm-hmm.
We're describing what happens, but everyone else in the movie describes like how the characters are feeling or what happened. Like it's quite strange how so much the movie's exposition and the only part that feels like it is the Krang thing. It's like it's so out of nowhere. Right. Maybe that's why. Like anytime the turtles are together, someone will be like Raph would be like, "Oh man, what the hell are you doing, Leo?" And Leo's like, "Oh man, it's not my fault. You're the slightly hard-edged but ultimately likable one of the group." Meanwhile, Mikey is the well-meaning goofball. Like that's everyone's kind of like describing.
Like times, yeah.
They're like reading the Wikipedia page. Oh my god, that reminds me of my favorite scenes. It's right when the turtles meet Casey Jones. And Mikey literally gives a rundown of the turtles' personalities, and this fucking like game show noise is playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's an audience, a laugh track, there's like bing noise. Like I don't know why it happened. It feels like something like sometimes Avatar or Teen Titans would have like the anime style like cutaways to like a different art style, like a joke. But there's no change in art style. It's a live action movie. So there's just dumb shit happen, like dumber than usual, like even dumber than usual shit happening.
Mm-hmm.
And like again, this movie is we'll say it's goofy. It's silly. It's whimsical. It's wacky.
Yeah, it's mostly what. Well, I don't say it's mostly. It has the things you want in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. It's just not executed particularly well, any of it.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, like I don't know, like when like the movie ends. Which, by the way, like the movie ends like basically.
Oh, the movie ends
with like basically with April's like first like news broadcast of the entire movie because she's a fucking newscaster.
There's nothing.
Yeah. But like anyway, so like when the movie ended, I was thinking like, okay, like obviously they were probably planning on making like more sequels to this, which obviously never happened. And like sometimes I would have been like, if like a movie was like bad and they never got a sequel, I would like, it would have been interesting to see where they would have went with it. This one, I'm thinking like, what the fuck could they have done? Because they literally used like every single like big villain from the show in this.
That's the biggest problem with this movie. Like the script and stuff, like that's common amidst these random, like not quite Hasbro, but like toy movie commercial advertisements, is that they're written poorly. This one, the first movie had Shredder and William Fichtner's character, who was probably intended to be Shredder. This movie has Shredder, Karai, Baxter Stockman, Bebop and Rocksteady, and Krang, all in one. That is all of the main villains.
Yeah. So they would either have to reuse them, which means they're probably going to reuse Kang at some point, or just create another new one.
Well, the thing is, it also almost every character ends off at a point where they could ever another like a show or a movie. Like Shredder's frozen in the Krang thing, so we could eventually have like the technology. Also, one thing about Shredder, obviously he was recast and looks and acts really different, but he barely even had a costume.
Yeah, he did.
What's up with that? It's not like he did anything.
Yeah, he didn't even get one until like literally like the end of the movie where he just got like his like helmet which
He gets the
didn't look that
helmet
great
and
either.
he's wearing like a black jumpsuit. So when he's talking to Krang before Krang betrays him and freezes him for his like fucking collection or whatever, it looks like he's just wearing like normal Foot Clan gear with big gloves and Shredder's helmet.
Yeah.
And I believe that there are probably Shredder designs that are like that are more minimalist, but like they could have given him the full purple like robe at this point, like cloak with the armor. Like in the last movie, they made him look like the Silver Samurai, like a Decepticon, like bullshit monster. Everything else in this movie is so fucking accurate visually that they didn't do that. Really? It just seems weird.
Yeah.
Shredder is a fucking wet piece of tissue paper in this movie, as he was in the last, but they could have at least made him look cooler. Kind of thinking of the way his story ends, it's almost like Shredder was like a joke, like literally a joke in this movie.
Yeah, pretty
Like,
much.
oh, break him out of jail. You'll get the things together. Like Bebop and Rocksteady, inept as they may be, do what Shredder asked them to very well. They're actually competent. Baxter Stockman is very smart. He developed technology that lets you teleport other dimensions. Shredder in this movie doesn't fight anyone, doesn't really threaten anyone, and he just gets taken out of the movie like a pussy. Like I can't believe he's even lamer than in the last movie. At least he almost killed Splinter. At least he had a million knives. I
Yeah,
can't believe
he attempted
I'm
knives.
kind of complimenting the 2014 Shredder, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, but like in the last video, Shredder has never really been the most interesting villain in the movies. It was generally like or the shows. It was generally like people liked Krang or Baxter Stockman or Bebop and Rocksteady or whatever other like side villain they had in that show. And but like yeah, Shredder in these movies are just like it's just really fucking lame and basically two separate, equally boring characters.
You know what he really feels like? It feels like Megatron from the Transformers movies. The first
Yes.
movie, he shows up randomly as a random gray abomination, does something mildly important, and fucks off. In this movie, he returns haphazardly, looking completely different, only to be written out of the movie as the main villain is someone above him in rank. That's exactly what happens to Megatron.
Hmm. So weird.
Fuck yeah. At least Megatron yells his own name. We don't get like Shredder going Shredder, you know?
Yeah.
That would have been that would have been really stupid. They already did the turtle soup line in the last movie, so they couldn't do it in this one. I know they wanted to. I bet they wanted to.
Yeah.
Oh, oh shit! We actually made a reference in the last movie. Crap.
uh,
Oh man,
some interesting little trivia facts about this movie.
I didn't check any of this. This is all fresh to me.
There's not like that much, but like there's a couple I want to mention. Um, when like Tyler Perry was like asked them about like what will happen in the third movie, he said like he was like pretty sure that Baxter Stockman would like transform into his fly form in the third movie, which I do not want to see at all. I don't even want to know what that would have looked like.
In real life, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they clearly set that up because Baxter has this extraordinarily like I say painful because it's a dumb idea. I know it's a TMNT idea. TMNT is dumb. It's like, wow, I can't believe it. In every human's DNA, there's a linkage to our animal ancestor. It's
Yeah.
like, what? Like, I know that's how it works in the fucking other media, but it feels really stupid when a real person is saying that, especially when that person is Tyler Perry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess his would have been a fly, and we would have seen that if the third movie ever came out. So thank God it didn't. Another one was that I just want to read this like directly because I think just the way it's worded is pretty funny. The
All
wig
right.
April wears when going undercover is in the same hairstyle and in parentheses not the same color as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1987 portrayal of April O'Neil. So it's like they got the fucking wigs, I'll be like, oh, cute little reference, but they didn't even bother like dyeing it the right color, which I think is like orange, and it was like blonde in the movie. So I guess take that for what you will.
I Yeah, I saw that. And I'm like, wow, man, she looks pretty good with that. And she takes it off, and okay. Like I can't just get an April. She actually looks less like April in this movie. They undyed her hair, and she only wears the fucking yellow one.
Yeah, she like her
It's
jacket
one of those
color's like
things.
barely yellow. It's like a tan.
Yeah, I got a weird thing. They could have like every other character. They fucking went all in except for Shredder and April.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, another interesting one that Fred Armisen was originally going to voice Krang, but he dropped out due to schedule conflicts and was replaced by Garrett. So
I
I
can
think it would
actually
have been
see
pretty
that.
funny hearing. It probably would have worked pretty well too, hearing Fred Armisen's voice come out of
Because
Krang.
usually Krang's like the Krang, like he has a much more like weaselly voice. I can like imagine Fred Armisen pulling it off. I don't know why they made him just fucking yell in this. It makes him funnier. Yes, I love this version of Krang because he's exactly the same as the other ones, and but he yells. However, they could have made him a little quieter.
Yeah. Um, I think it's pretty much most of the interesting ones.
I'm
Nothing like
looking
too
at
great.
this. Wow, that's the producers trying to get cameo roles from TMNT 1990 actors Elias Koteas, the original Casey Jones, and Sam Rockwell. Apparently, Sam Rockwell was in the first TMNT movie. I didn't even know that.
Was he? Damn. He was pretty young
Apparently,
back then.
apparently he was in the Foot Clan in the original movie. Gotta watch that movie now.
Yep. Not for
Um,
Baycast. I don't want to watch any more Teenage fucking whatever the fuck
I'm
for a
on, I
while.
just mean I want to know like what's Sam Rockwell doing in this movie, bro?
We may never
And
know.
there's two more things that I'm surprised you didn't go into. Brad Garrett, who voices Krang in this film, is best friends with Pat Fraley, who voiced Krang originally.
Oh, I didn't see that one. That's
And
pretty interesting.
also one thing that I forgot to mention, they play Ice Ice Baby,
Oh my
and
god, right. Yeah.
and then Casey Jones says like, "Oh, I love this song." No, you don't. Go to hell. But yeah, no, Vanilla Ice is in one of the TMNT movies.
Yeah, the second one, I think.
I, I didn't make that connection. Just like why was Vanilla Ice playing? But it was
Just
one of those
cause.
like, oh no, it's a song. It's funny. Like whatever.
Yeah. Dumb movie. Dumb
Or
shit.
stupid movie, but I find it pretty consistently enjoyable. Is it enough to out? Is it enough to outweigh the it being shit thing? Probably not. But unlike the first movie, I can imagine someone watching this and be like, "Yeah, that was fun," especially kids, because
Hmm.
kids aren't going to care that there's no story. They're going to be like, "Oh, the Rhino Man farted," like that's funny. Like the
Yeah.
first movie is so self serious most of the time and grim and ugly.
Yeah,
This
this movie's pretty
this
fun.
movie is obviously way too stuff full of shit, but it is so much closer to what I would have wanted these movies to be, which would just be stupid. Like, I mean, again, I'm gonna go at length. What I said with Transformers also applies to TMNT. The series are fucking they're stupid as hell. Look at the premises. Look at the name. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's not. I don't think it's meant to be. I know the original comics were actually quite serious. I know. I don't care. Those are probably fine comics, but fucking hell, there's a pick a guy called Krang with a like a man body that spins around. There's a guy whose name is the Shredder. And he just has swords. There's a rat with a mustache. Like you can't take these movies that seriously. You can't take the
No.
property that seriously. And I think this movie trying to be a lot more overtly. Well, I think it's trying to be fun. At the very least, silly. Like it's a lot less. It's a lot less offensive to the mind as something like Transformers 4 or 5 or TMNT 1. They're trying like, oh, we're gonna make these serious. No, no, you're not.
Yeah.
They did, but they shouldn't have.
For what this movie is, I think it's okay. I mean, it's not okay. It's like it's fine for a Teen Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Like it did enough to, I guess, satisfy the fans and make a mildly entertaining movie. It's still like barely an improvement, like quality wise, over the first movie. But for what it is, I think it's the first movie is like for what it is, it's all right, I guess. It's still not very good though. Also, I forgot to mention Steve Jablonski did the score for this movie.
Really, I remember hearing the score and thinking that's like
Yeah, it
real
wasn't like
music. Like
super
I almost hear
memorable,
things.
but he did do like that pretty kick-ass remix of the TMNT theme at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the credits. That's a good way to distinguish the first and second movies. First movie begins with a rap song where four rappers like pretend to be the Turtles, I think. And this movie ends with a slight revamp of the original theme. Like that kind of shows what the priorities with these.
Yeah, I think that's a
All
good
right.
way to put it. Uh, Sucks that in the third one never came out. I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, we're getting like
Could have been
three new
okay.
Teenage
I,
Mutant
I
Turtles movies
believe
after
that
that.
movie could have been fine.
Yeah.
Because they've laid the groundwork for every single fucking main TMNT villain in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's give me the same vibe as like Fantastic Beasts, where the second movie was all set up, but then the third movie was really bad too. So
Yeah,
maybe the
maybe it
third
would
of
have been
these
bad. I
movies
don't
would have
know.
also sucked.
So yeah, now there's like three Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies being made. There's like a
Whoa!
Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, like this getting released on Netflix like very soon, I think. There's an animated one that's coming out by like uh, by like Seth Rogen, and I think there's like another live action one being like written by like Casey and Colin Jost. So look forward to
They're
those, I
gonna say
guess.
written by Casey Jones.
Oh, that's probably why I chose him because his name is very similar. Okay.
I get it's like Mark Webb doing Spider-Man, right?
Yeah. um. Yeah. So I guess that's pretty much it. That's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Rise of Gru.
Rise of the Shadows.
Yeah. Uh. So yeah. Uh. Thanks for watching, guys. It was such a pleasure for you guys to listen to. Whatever. I'm just spewing nonsense at this point. Join
That's
us.
all right.
Join us soon for when we cover probably a non Michael Bay movie. I'm still not entirely sure which is the next one we cover. We might do The Losers. We might do something else.
Okay, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
digging The Losers, which has nothing to do with Michael Bay, but feels like a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah.
I think it counts.
It's like from like this point on, considering that like most of the Michael Bay's like other produced movies are generally like horror movies that don't have much to do with his style. We'll probably like cover like mostly just like Michael Bay-esque movies. Probably not like in as much of a consistent upload schedule because there's not as much to work with. We're not like going by a plan, but
We're
yeah,
getting
we'll
near the
make
end,
videos when we
folks.
can. So yeah, The Losers is probably the next one, and then we'll like do whatever other random shitty Michael Bay-esque action movies there are. So yeah, look forward to that. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Here, folks.